Hello and good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. We are live. We are worldwide. My name is Travis. This is Oscar Mike Radio. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubazoo Network. You can find out more on hubazoo.com. I'll thank my sponsors here in a minute, but without them, this wouldn't happen. Thank you very much to Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Mark Holmes of Reaper Detailing and Power Washing, and Sean Schubert of Red Seal Martial Arts. Thank you. So this is number 198. Today is July 9th, and I have a special guest with a bunch of firsts. Yes, even after almost 200 podcast shows, there's still a lot of firsts. First, I'm talking to a female naval corpsman veteran, which is a first for me. I'm talking to a Marine wife, which is a first for me. But I'm talking to a naval corpsman veteran, Marine wife of a drill instructor, Sarah Fawcett of Sevins Grace. Welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, folks, before we hit the record button, I mean, she was off the rails. It was really great. So I'm really excited to talk to her. We kind of met, ladies and gentlemen, through one of our favorites, Coach Danielle Rocco of Devoted to a Soldier. And Sarah, how it came for me is I was watching the show and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, how she's done all that. It's a really, great way Danielle talks to people. And after the show, Danielle's like, you can talk to her and check out her cuts. Now, and as you know, Sarah, when Danielle speaks, you got to listen, right?
Yes.
So we got the cup. I'll show people the cup in a second. But really, I mean, you're a naval corpsman. And I have to ask the question. I've got to ask the question, Sarah. I have been told that all my medical needs about my body working right and being fixed comes down to three variables: a gallon of water a day, clean socks, and 800 milligrams of ibuprofen every 4 hours. If you have those three things, you can survive almost anything. Is that the truth?
True.
Now, why is that? Why do you corpsmen preach that so much?
Well, to be honest, you've got water. You have to stay hydrated.
True.
Which is essential. Number two, the Motrin. It's an anti-inflammatory, and military is always on the move. And so the whole idea of anti-inflammatory, you need that to, keep moving even when you're in pain. And then socks. Do you know how ineffective you're going to be in the field if you've got raunchy feet? I mean, raunchy feet leads to fungus feet, which leads to, I'm getting grossed out just by talking about feet. But you have to have clean socks so you can take care of your feet and you can be the most effective that you can be in whatever job you're in.
So what I didn't hear was like going to the doctor regularly. So are you saying like I had an 8-year stretch of not going to the doctor? Was that a good idea for me? Because I was going for 10 and there was some divine intervention to, so is going to the doctor regularly a good thing, or can I get away with 10 years next time?
First of all, I need to speak to whoever gave you that came to Jesus moment so I can thank that person.
You don't even know me. You're going to thank him?
Second, no, medical, you have to go to medical. You have to, because you have to look at the bigger picture. What's the bigger picture, Sarah? The bigger picture is in 20 or 30 years when you're going to try to, retire or collect any kind of disability. That's not going to happen if you don't go to medical, because there's no tracking record. There's no record of any injuries or anything. So how are they supposed to give you the compensation that you so rightfully deserve if they don't know anything about it?
Won't they just be able to look at my broken body and say, okay, yeah, you kind of got messed up?
Well, they can say, yeah, you're kind of messed up, but I'm so sorry that could have happened outside of your service.
Oh, but I'm out of the service now. See, this stretch happened outside of the service.
Well, then you still need to go to medical, because at some point you're still going to apply for some kind of compensation or medical insurance, that is not VA, but any of those insurance companies still need to know a record of, showing a trend Just suck it up
Folks,
and go to
folks, she's not buying what I'm selling here. I don't know what to tell you.
the.
Because see, I go to medicals. I go to the doctor, and these nurses got ticked. I'll tell you the story. They got mad that I hadn't been in 8 years. I mean, like they got biblical, right? I'm getting a talking to. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a patient here. I don't even want to be here. So they take my blood pressure. It's like 108, 110 over 70. It was I remember it was 110 over 67, and the nurse checked it again because she's like, wait a minute, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's like, took my heart rate. She's like, called her nurse practitioner in, the doctor. They're like, you're like a picture of health. Cholesterol of 198. Like, okay, they kind of griped about that, but like everything else was like nominal. So I'm like, hey, I can go for 10 years next time. Yeah, wrong thing to say. So you've dealt with Marines being Marines for a while then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever worked on any Army dogs or sailors or other sailors or Air Force guys?
I mean, Navy sailors, yeah. I've had very little interaction with Army or Air Force, but even Navy corpsmen are stubborn about it.
So they know.
Well, they should know better, but they're like, oh, I'll go next time. I'll go next time. And they keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then next thing they know, they're trying to fill out all this paperwork because they're getting out of the military and they want to claim, back pain or, tons of ankle sprains, my husband. And there's no record of any of it. And so what's the VA going to do? Nothing.
This is not going the way I want it to go, folks, but okay, I'm going to try to adjust. So
this is me looking out for you.
Oh,
I know.
thank you. I can't wait to tell Danny that, you know what? I'd start talking to Sarah and 5 minutes later, she was thanking the sweet baby Jesus that I was okay. That makes me feel good. So, you deal with Marines. And what is that like, though? Besides just not wanting to go to the doctor, overall, what's it like dealing with Marines as a full-time job? And we'll throw in as a bonus, you're female too. You got to deal with all that as well. What's that like on an average day for you when you were in?
Very frustrating. Okay, so it's not so much frustrating for the Marine or sailor themselves, right? It's more, so let me give you the example of Marines that have some kind of sprain or strain, right? And they go to medical like they're supposed to, and the doctor says, you need physical therapy, 3 times a week for 6 weeks. That seems like a pretty average thing for a really bad ankle sprain, right? So the Marine's like, okay, I get out of work, cool. But the chain of command is like, you don't need physical therapy, you're fine. And then they don't go. And then they get another sprain. And then it's an even worse sprain because they didn't get the appropriate treatment the first time. So it's not so much working with the Marines and the sailors that get injured, it's trying to get their chain of command to understand that they actually need this for them to be 100% effective at their job. That's what's frustrating.
So what you're saying is that deep down, officers really don't care about us, is what you're saying.
No, definitely not saying that.
Oh, okay. I was just, because that sounds like, because I had that, experience where a platoon commander thought I was sandbagging one time after a motorcycle accident. He thought I should come back in 5 days instead of the 2 weeks the doctor said, and it was a bad experience. So
well, here's what the chain of command, not necessarily officers, it could be, E8s, E9s with, all the respect in the world, they've been around. And so I'm not knocking that, but they're not a doctor.
They're not.
They don't have a degree that gives them the right to tell somebody what kind of health treatment that they need. That is the doctor's job. And so when Marines injure themselves over and over and over again, and then are continually told by their chain of command, they don't, our mission is more important right now. Well, your mission is not going to do anything if all your Marines are broken.
Well, no, I can't fault you there. I mean, and certainly, I am not saying that officers don't care. It's just the perception sometimes just enlisted, and definitely first sergeants, I'm not so sure about. Master gunners seem to care, in my experience. First sergeants, I'm not so sure about. Sergeant majors, yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but I'm like, hey, it's just my experience. But interesting. So the actual giving us the shots didn't really bother you.
No.
What? Oh. That was easy, huh? Just stick us in, you're done. That was actually, you seem to enjoy that a whole lot. Oh my God. I knew it.
We, all the corpsmen do. Don't let any of them tell you that putting Marines through the tiniest little bit of anxiety, is not enjoyable, because it absolutely is.
I knew it. So you do that, right? You tape us up, you fix us up, you put a Band-Aid on our owies and send us back into the field or back into the wherever we're doing, and you do that, and then you separate. Did you want to make a career in the Navy, or was it just time for you to do something else?
Well, at the time, I'd been in long enough to use the GI Bill. I had begged to deploy numerous times before I got out, and it kept on, somebody else would be on the list, and I was never able to. I went to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, on a deployment, but that was for a very short amount of time, and I didn't really get to experience a whole lot. But when I had my first daughter, I was like, all this time I just wanted to deploy and, send me out. And I had my daughter, and I was like, I have no desire to leave anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did my time, and I got out and went to college.
Oh, nice. Now, you're married to a Marine, and did you meet him in the service or after your service?
After.
Okay. So wait a minute. Now, I always ask, Marines' wives this, especially ones who served in the military. You know what you're getting into, right? And you just still said, I do.
Hold on. So when we got together, I said, this is not the life I want. I was like, I've lived it. I have an ex-husband that can attest that I've lived it. And so he was actually in agreement. He's like, I'm just doing it, because he had a really rough first couple of years in the Marine Corps, and I think every Marine does. And so he was like, F this, I'm getting out. And it just didn't work out that way. I think what happened to him and ends up happening to a lot of Marines, where they don't know what their plan is. They don't have, plan for the backup or what's going to happen. So they just sign another paper for a longer amount of time. And once he signed that his first reenlistment package, the Marine Corps decided, oh yeah, cool, you're going to Japan for 2 years unaccompanied.
Wow, talking about the test for the marriage right up front.
Yeah. So he deployed about a year after we were dating. He deployed, and then we got married a couple months after he got back. Went to reenlist, and he actually got 3 years accompanied to Japan. And I was like, no, because, I have 2 children, and I didn't want to go through the battle of fighting and taking them away from their dad, and so I was like, it's just better every way around if I just stay here. The girls can have their mom and their dad, and, we will be fine.
So you get out, you meet this Marine, you marry him. The first thing is he's gone for 2 years. That doesn't test the marriage at all, right? No. He comes back, and then you're on billet in a place I'm actually very familiar with, because I went to boot camp in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your thoughts on that? Because I hear all the time from the Parris Island guys that San Diego's a cakewalk, and I tell them, no, San Diego was 3 months of mental torture watching those planes take off.
So
Around all the
I have a unique experience with that too, because while my husband was in Japan for 2 years, I lived on Parris Island, or I lived right outside of Parris Island. So all of my neighbors were drill instructors. I worked at the Naval Hospital there, so I saw it every day. It is like night and day, the differences between Parris Island and MCRD San Diego. But I don't think either one is easier than the other. They just, I think because of, demographics and everything, they have the mountains here and they have swamps there. It's just a different way of training. But I heard a lot about like Hollywood DIs, and how they think that they're movie stars when they become a DI on the depot here. And I can say that is just, it's not true. It really isn't. But I was surprised that I was warned a lot. They're like, once you become a DI wife, it's just a shit show and nobody is supportive and nobody cares about family. I have seen the complete opposite
nice.
Here at MCRD. Like they ask how I'm doing. They've said multiple times if there's something going on at home, and it keeps the drill instructors from being able to focus on their job, and they want them to focus on their job. So if they need to take care of something, they take care of it. So it's actually been really good.
Awesome. So I had some drill instructors who were married, and one time one of them said, my wife is not happy that you recruits, he didn't quite say it like that, aren't getting the job done and messing me up. So we got to feel his wife's displeasure very intimately. So I'm just curious, because we all asked this question, and the DIs we met in the fleet never told us the real deal. Is there an off switch when your husband comes home, or is he in DI mode all the time? And I have to think, knowing some wives like I know him, that the switch has to get turned off, or else.
There is a switch. He is able to turn it off. And that's because I told him that it was a priority for him to turn it off, because I'm not a recruit. My kids are not recruits, and he's not going to yell at us like recruits. Luckily, he's never even gotten mean. Like, he comes home and he's back to himself, I feel like. He does go a little off the rails when he's, telling stories or something, and he gets all like worked up and he's like, this is what I did, and I'm like, okay, let's just take it down a couple notches, but on a sentimental note, like, because he's only home maybe once a week, and that's only for an evening and a morning, he tries to make the extra effort to make his time at home better.
Yeah, because people don't understand, right? And I tell people, I say, you don't understand. Those men are pretty much with us 24/7. There's never a time there's not one of them or multiples with you your entire 12 weeks, more than your parents. And if you're not used to that, it's really brutal what they do. And I'm like, wow, that's a really huge sacrifice for the spouses to do that. Yeah. So that's really nice that you have the support from, the command and, your fellow DI, sisterhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely not what I was preparing to just be like any of his other commands. I was preparing to just have to do things on my own and not deal with the command, because it's just been, they don't care, they don't care if he's got some issues going on. He loves being a drill instructor. He loves being on the depot. He loves being here too, but he would never make a false reason, to not be there. And it's frustrating because people that have done that in the past have, put sour taste in leadership mouth,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, very, very interesting. So you're in this state now, and Danielle told me that you make these custom cups. And before I show people what you created for me, we go through all that. I had a cup made for me by an Army veteran in Florida. Her name is Becky Tuff. We call her GQ. And, it's 20 ounces. So it was perfect in the wintertime, but I didn't have that one for iced coffee because by the time you get all the ice cubes in the cup, 20 ounces is just a couple sips for a dude like me. So I had a problem. I had a need. And so Danielle is, again, let's put it like this. She's emphatically encouraging me to, get with you about a custom Oscar Mike Radio cup. And I'm like, okay, we'll check this out. And I'm like, wow, this is some really interesting stuff. So before we show the cup, because it's right here, how did you get into this?
So my husband was in Japan, and I had gotten really close with this girl who her husband was working on Paris Island, and she was making them, and she had just started, and so I would just kind of go over there and watch her, and she just kind of taught me as she went, and it kind of became a little, because I can't draw, I can't paint, I'm not a builder, I just don't have that creative brain to be able to just build stuff, but I wanted some kind of creative outlet, and so I just kind of picked it up. I didn't really intend on it becoming a big thing. When I first started doing it, my daughter, who is 11, she actually started doing it with me.
Oh.
And it became something that we did together. And so it was fun. And then, it also took up a lot of my time when I wasn't working, and when I would go home in the evening, and nobody was there, my husband was gone. And the girls would be at their dad's house or something. And so it really helped me get through 2 years unaccompanied in Japan. And then when I came here, I'd spent 6 months or so looking for a full-time job. And during that time, it just kind of picked up.
Well, picked up indeed, because folks, I'm going to have the link to her Facebook page where you can check out some of her work, and it's really, really unique. And really, really cool. And so I approached you about doing a cup for me, and you never heard of me, you didn't know anything about me. So I'm kind of curious, how did you approach this? Because I really didn't give you a lot of instructions or parameters.
Oh,
I'm like,
you didn't. You just said, "Here's the website, make some."
Well, yeah. Well, as an artist, though, I've talked to a couple artists who are like, I'll make something that somebody wants, but it's like sometimes they feel like if someone is that exact with their requirements, why don't they do it? And kind of like with Becky, I'm like, I want to see what she can do with this concept and have fun with it. Versus, I want the, colors to be just this and the lettering and the font. Blah, blah, blah. So that's why I did that.
I love being given the freedom to do, even if somebody just says, these are the colors that I want. All I need to know is, do you like glitter or not? And then I can come up with something.
Well, let's see if I can get this in here. There's no glitter in this.
No glitter.
Oh, there we go. But it has the red, white, and blue, which I am absolutely freaking a fan of, right? Mm-hmm. So I really dug this. And then the microphone, which I don't know why my green screen's doing that. There we go. Which is what we're doing right now. And then, you gotta be kidding me. Of course, there's the Oscar Mike Radio logo, and then there's Oscar Mike Radio on the bottom of this. And I get this thing, and I'm like, if I wanted to, if there's some robber or somebody in my house, and I have it half full of coffee, I can hurl it at the robber or the person, and this becomes a weapon.
Dual purpose.
Right. You gotta understand, Sarah. This is how Marines think. I'm like, this is not just a coffee cup anymore. This is not just a branding symbol. This is a weapon. Yeah, I'm totally digging this. And then, I'm doing this. I'm taking pictures of it, and I'm like, looking at the bottom of this. And let me see if my green screen screws up. Oh no! Oh, it did. Oh, there we go. It says Sevins, Sevins Grace, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I mean, it's not seven as in the number seven, but it's Sevens. I'm curious what about the name of your thing you got going here.
I knew you'd ask. So a little corny. When I was first starting to think of business names, because my daughter made cups with me, I was trying to like mesh my two daughters' names somehow. I'm like, well, maybe we'll call it Ariats, or because there's Erica and Charlotte, and nothing kind of sounded good. And then my daughter's just like, well, what about Devin and Sarah, or Sarah and Devin? And I'm like, well, that kind of sounds cool. So, okay, yeah. And then it just kind of stuck. Sevins Grace. And it sounds different than any business name, I guess. And that's what it was. So my daughter came up with it. It's a corny mix of my name and my husband's name. And yeah.
Kids say the darndest thing. That's awesome. Well, I think it's great because you're right. It does stick out in my mind. And like I've told people who've asked about both cups, both Becky's and yours, I said there's two different stories with the cups, but still it's two people, because the same thing I did with you, I did with Becky. I didn't give her any kind of strict variables and parameters that you must follow. I wanted your representation of what you thought about, what you were seeing and maybe hearing before you actually came on the show. And in both cases, I'm like, wow, maybe you didn't know anything about Oscar Mike Radio, but I really felt that this kind of encapsulated, what I was all about. And I see that in other things you do. I do got to ask, thank you for not using glitter. Really appreciate that. I don't know if you were tempted, but that was a good call on your part. But what is with the glitter? Because there's a lot of it in other things.
Well, people like us, girls like glitter. You don't just think of a guy wanting a customized cup. It's just not. It's not something that they're going to go for.
No.
But girls are. Moms and grandmas, and just any female who sees a pretty cup is going to be like, "Oh, I want one of those." It's just our human nature to like pretty things, and glitter is pretty.
Well, I think there's guys who want custom cups. You just, and this is what I'm saying. I mean, you made a dude a custom cup, and it turned out pretty good without glitter. But you are right. It's not like I was sitting there thinking to myself, I need a 30-ounce cup. I'd probably just go somewhere and get one. But again, Coach Rocco emphatically encouraged me to see something new. So it worked out real well, everybody. I mean, I could have given her more specific instructions. I didn't want to. Shipping was a breeze, even with COVID-19 going on. And I am happy. And like I said, this is a weapon. I can launch this, talk about overlapping fields of fire. I'm like, I feel safer with it.
Good. I'm glad.
Don't you love how Marines think, Sarah?
Oh yeah. I'm never surprised.
Well, good. So you're doing this now, and you make cups. Is there anything else you make, or are you looking at branching anything else?
It's mostly cups. I've kind of started doing little straw toppers, cute little accessories to go with the cups. I did keychains for a little bit. I like being able to just kind of focus on the cups, though.
I got you. So if people want to find you, is the Facebook page you need to go to first to, find Sevins Grace and check out what you have?
The Facebook page is the easiest. And I just, on Thursdays, opened up my Etsy store.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so, I'm still uploading all the cups that I have. And, it's hard with something like this because most people like customized things, so. But then I realized there's so many people that they don't know what they want. They know that they want something that's different. They want something that nobody else has. But, so this quarantine thing has kind of got my creative juices flowing. I bought a bunch of glitter, and now I have a ton of cups that are ready to be customized. And I'm hoping that going that kind of route helps with sales a little bit.
Awesome. Well, I mean, let's see if we can help with sales. Please send me your Etsy link. I'll have it in the post. When you see this on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere else, you can go right to her pages and check it out. And my experience, ladies and gentlemen, was fantastic. I'm happy with the cup. It looks cool. It's different. It's unique, and it's a weapon. So I just always, as starting this out, really enjoy talking to veterans like yourself, Sarah, who were in the service. And so many times people don't understand what it takes to transition out of the service and then find something new. And I think that's really amazing. So as we close this down, what would you tell the person getting out who's trying to kind of find their way and maybe, got stalled a bit?
To just keep trying different things. Yeah. And I never thought that I would make cups, and step out of your box. Go to college if you think that that's what you need to do. And I think life's too short to be unhappy, especially in your job. I've been very lucky that I have a great full-time job that I absolutely love. And I get to do this too. And so if, for anybody getting out, file your pension and compensation paperwork, go to the doctor.
I thought you'd forgotten about that.
No. And I right when I got out, I went to college. I spent every bit of my GI Bill. I went and got my master's degree.
Very nice. And
then I started a regular job, and I started at the bottom. Even though I had a master's degree, I didn't let my head get too big. I was like, I have all this experience and now I have all this education, pay me $25 an hour. I think a lot of people go wrong with that because they're like, you've got all this great experience in the military, and a lot of it does transition into the civilian world, but it's just not that easy to just hop into, a really good paying job that you love. Sometimes it takes going to the job fairs. That's how I got my first job when I got out. I went to a job fair and I talked to some HR guy at a table, and they hired me the next week. So everybody's got such different experiences, but start your own business.
Awesome. Well, I've learned more about socks, water, and ibuprofen. I've learned that medical is not an option, and compliance to treatment is mandatory, I guess. And again, when I got the cup, I wanted you to know that I felt like, wow, here's another connection with a veteran who said to reinvent herself. I'm interested in her story, and I think some of what we talked about can apply to people of any branch at any stage in their career. So thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
Awesome. Well, I mean, folks, she was jazzed up before she got really jazzed up. This has really been great. We're at 198. I can't even comprehend that, Sarah, because 4 years ago, this was nothing. So I really, to share this with you is really special. I'm going to have all the links to Sevins Grace in the show post everywhere. So there's no excuse why you can't check it out. Christmas is like 5 months and change away. You want to get started early.
It is not too early. The holidays, the earlier you order customized stuff, and that's with any business. There's so many brilliant people out there that make brilliant things. But remember, holidays get busy, and so do they. Well,
again, just thank you very much. You're an example to those people who say that it's too hard and it can't be done. And certainly I'm very happy with my cup and what it represents for Oscar Mike Radio. And, hopefully, if I get out to San Diego, I'd like to meet up, and you're welcome to come back on here anytime.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, Sarah, as we say in Hawk, missile in flight, but as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, mission in flight. Thank you very much. Folks, this is number 198 at a close. We're Oscar Mike.